Freshlist.io.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of You Deserve Fresh Lettuce. I am your co-host Rachel.
And I'm Delia.
And welcome back to season 2. In this episode, we're going to be talking about social circles and finding a way to marry for money, essentially. Finding
dating
sort of
rich.
high caliber guys.
Yes.
And what to do. All right, let's get into it. Hey, don't forget to follow us on social media at YDFL Podcast. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, by the way, we're available everywhere. Including
just Alexa.
Asking Alexa and YouTube.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so let's kick it off. We're talking about if you were a woman, let's just say, maybe you were married, maybe you're divorced, you have your kids, and then you go, I did the first one for love, but this second time around, chapter 2, I want to live a different kind of life. And I want to live a life where the guy can maybe provide something more. Okay?
Right.
It's like, what do you do in order to even find these guys, right?
Right.
That's what we're talking about.
So I think that you'd have to go on Instagram and find friends and then make friends and then stalk them. Once you stalk them, just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I really don't know. I think that as when I was married, I know that there was a lot of people around me. There was a lot of single, good-looking, it looked like they had everything going for themselves, men around me. But I think it's because if you're kind of around certain circles, you kind of attract those type of people. And then there was like the girls that I'm like, she's so beautiful and single, and then there's this guy, he's handsome, single, and they both kind of have like similar energy. And I think that that's when you're saying like, okay, maybe if you're in these circles, like maybe a friend of yours might see you and say, you know what, there's this guy named, I don't know, Jeff. And Jeff would be perfect for you because Jeff has all these qualities, and it seems like you guys would match very well.
I agree with that because and you know this about me. I have been in matchmaker positions.
Right.
I love matchmaking. It's the funniest thing ever because it's true. When you are around the social circles, it's like you will hear the guy going, God, I just want to find a girl who's a woman. They don't usually say girl. They say like woman, like a woman who's and then I'll be around my girlfriends, and then they'll be like, God, if I just had blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So then I go, oh, okay, A plus B equals C. Let's go. Like
this person loves God, goes to church. Yeah. He's ambitious, she's ambitious, and then, he's divorced and has kids, and then, your friend might be in the same position, and then all of a sudden you come to realize, like, maybe it's not going to work, though.
So if you have a friend who is in these sort of high-level social circles, you might want to say, hey, I know I don't usually go out, with you on these things, or I don't usually go out to do it, but I'm actually kind of interested. And you got to kind of put it out there that you're interested. I wouldn't be matchmaking people who I wasn't aware. Right. If they didn't make me aware that this is the kind of person they were looking for or whatever, I wouldn't have been able to spot them as a potential for them. So it does take some letting people kind of know that you're on the market, but not only you're on the market, but God, it'd be great, to meet someone with XYZ.
Right. So
and then that way people get a sense, and then when they have that person, it could be their husband's friend. You never know, friend of a friend, or whatever. The other thing is that I talk about often is if you are a woman who wants to really be aligned in this way, I encourage you to start a little business. Start a business. It'll get you some local access to your local chamber of commerce.
So true.
Certain meetup groups, and then you'll meet like-minded individuals, entrepreneurial individuals, and they might just have one little location business, brick and mortar in town. That's okay, right? Because they're entrepreneurial. Their potential could be massive depending on, once you enter the picture. So I would say that's one way to do it. It benefits you too because you project it as though you kind of have it together.
Right. Or also, not to cut you off, but also for me, I know from my personal experience, what's been difficult is that, I feel that for me, my faith is very important and being close to God. And so I know for sure if maybe there's a group or maybe there's a Bible study, which by the way, I haven't joined a Bible study that I should though. But if there is a Bible study, I imagine that if I'm trying to align with people like that, there might be people that are married, but there might be some that aren't, and then you're kind of like-minded. Or the gym in the morning, 5 a.m. You know what? Sometimes you may, find someone that's working out that early in the morning, and you're aligning yourself with that type of people within the same energy path.
Yeah, absolutely. Do the things that you truly enjoy doing, but maybe
because
do them
you want to do them.
Because that's the lifestyle you align with, and then maybe do it in a city, in a community where the pool of successful people is greater.
Right.
And that like, for example, I was told the story years and years ago about a woman who was divorced, and she was middle-aged, and her kids were pretty grown already.
Right.
And she married for love, and it was a regular situation, not a ton of money, just whatever, just like a decent regular life. But she wanted something more for her second chapter. She wanted to travel and have a certain lifestyle.
Right.
So she came up with this theory about like taking jogs in Beverly Hills, and I was like, you drive to Beverly Hills to do this?
Right.
And she was driving to Beverly Hills in the morning and to take her jog. She actually enjoyed jogging. It wasn't like, she didn't like jogging, and then she changed the geography in which she did the things she already enjoyed. And she ended up meeting a man who was a surgeon of some type. I believe he was a plastic surgeon. And by the time I met her, she had already been with him a lot of years. They had already been married for a long time. And so I'm telling you that story because, again, follow the things that you enjoy. If it's God and you want someone
to meet you
who
there,
aligns in that spiritual sense, then choose a church that's in a geographic location. And we talked about this off camera. That's in a city that has a bigger pool of.
And then I've also heard, just depending on where you're at in the world, I know that there is like these rural areas, and I've heard like this famous matchmakers say, well, fly yourself the closest like metropolitan area. So like if you're in the Midwest, or if you're even in the East Coast, but you're kind of like in one of those suburban like states, like maybe fly out to New York, or maybe like kind of be in Miami, and kind of go out those ways in order for you to kind of catch or captivate that pool of people. Unless you have friends that that kind of align with the type of people that you want to align with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the message is actually just about intention and being very intentional. I mean, if a man is listening, he might go, well, that sounds very calculated. And it kind of is, to sit here in this day and age and be in our houses or sitting at Barnes & Noble thinking that our Prince Charming is going to show up and just, rescue us with a rose in his mouth. In this day and age, we got to be a little bit more intentional. Once you've decided exactly what you want in a person, which is the hard part too.
Right.
But and
I think it's because for everyone it changes on a on a day-to-day basis, possibly week to week, month to month. Maybe something that was really important for you 10 years ago isn't as important now. For instance, maybe like you were in, like for us, we're in our 40s, having children's not that important. But had you have talked to us in our 20s, that would have been pretty important because maybe we wanted to become parents. And so it just depends on where you're at in your life, and kind of aligning and being intentional of what you are looking for and what you're seeking. But I think that nothing is better than actually probably meeting someone through people that are like, hey, I know somebody that would be perfect for you.
Because they're vetted.
They're vetting them for you. And I remember, I've met a few amazing people this way too. It didn't go anywhere, obviously, but I think it's a good way to kind of, break the ice. Like, how do you know her? Or how do you know him? And, oh, I met him like this. And it just kind of breaks the ice rather than being like, so what's your favorite color? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a trivialities of like the conversations that are so trivial. So I think that if you have friends, kind of align with them.
Yeah, exactly. And just, letting people know, again, and not being like a full walking billboard, right? But at the end of the day, in these casual conversations, and just kind of letting it, be known. And if you are mixing and mingling with businessmen, at some point, it will come up. They'll say, so what's your story? And it's okay to say, well, I'm divorced, and now what I'm doing is blah, blah, blah. Oh, you're divorced? How long were you married? It's almost like just the natural go-to question. You start breaking down the ice. You don't know if the person in front of you is the guy that's going to all of a sudden become interested in you. You also don't know if it's his brother, his coworker. Like, you don't know who he knows in his sphere, because I've heard lots of times that guys do the same thing we do. And they basically are like, man, like, introduce me to her. Like, introduce me to her. There's that whole thing. And so you want to just kind of keep that in mind.
a little bit more forward, like introduce me to him.
Oh,
I know I'm definitely not like that, but
yeah.
maybe we need to change our
Like,
way. Maybe our approach is changed.
Maybe we need to,
we need to be
adjust
more
the
aggressive.
approach.
Be like the nowadays women, like we're the hunters
like
now. All of a
choose
sudden,
him. I choose him. I call dibs, right?
Yeah, I call dibs on that guy.
Yeah. So again, thinking about your geographic location, thinking about what you do for a living. It really is important. It's important how you dress and how you present yourself to the world. We live in Southern California. You could drive 5 miles and all of a sudden enter a little country western looking town, and everyone's about the cowboy situation.
For sure.
And then all of a sudden we could be at the beach and it's like board shorts and flip flops, right? Or LA, you got the suits. And
so what Rachel's saying, make sure you have cowgirl boots in the back. Flip flops, bikini tops.
If you're trying to save
a snowboard,
what's
jacket,
it like? Save a truck, ride a cowboy.
Yeah, you gotta just be ready. Like you, I got my. You gotta get your your accents going.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you gotta know. Just like vamos.
Especially because I've been recently seeing there's this whole exodus from California moving over to Texas, and people are saying don't California my Texas. And I was in the comment section, and
don't California my Texas.
That's the slogan right now. Don't California my Texas, because they don't want Californians to change Texas into like another California.
Okay.
And so what's interesting is I was in the comments, and these men, a whole bunch of men were saying, you can always spot the women who moved here from California. They have on too much makeup. Their heels are too high. Their clothes are too provocative for their age. I mean, they're like breaking it down.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there going, oh, well, so I guess if you're like in Texas, beauty in Texas is a different thing. So you just, I think if
it depends on what part of Texas. I would imagine it's just like anywhere in Southern California. If you, like you just said, if you go to LA, you're gonna get the LA crowd. If you go to Orange County, at the Orange County, if you guys know where Hemet, California is, you're gonna know you're in Hemet, California. So I imagine that.
Look I've been to Dallas, and women were like to the nines, big hair, big lashes, big everything.
Yeah.
I guess if you're like oil tycoon, maybe. So I don't know who these men are.
I don't know how Texas works, but I would imagine that. I mean, there's beautiful women all around the world, but you can kind of spot them out. You're like, okay, that girl's. She's missing teeth. She's from Hemet.
And you know what? We were just talking about like. Let's not talk bad about situations and people. And here we go. She's like, you're going to know.
We're out here.
Well, here's the thing. If you know that your best you, where you feel the most centered, the most zen, the most comfortable is barefaced, hair up in a ponytail, some cut-off shorts and cowboy boots and a tank top, and that's your vibe, you will find a guy that just sees the absolute beauty in that. And by the way, tons of men prefer that. So you got to remember, it's all about really figuring out what you really want. If we're talking specifically about high caliber men, meaning men that make a lot of money, you also have to remember, if you're more of a cowgirl, cowboy guy, there's dudes that they don't look like $1 million, but they make a ton of money, and they live on ranch homes and stuff like that. So I think just doing a little bit of homework, a little bit of research, and figuring it out.
I think you just have to show up authentic to yourself.
As you.
On period.
Yes.
Like, if eyelashes and high heels is your get up, then do that. If sneakers and hair up in a bun is your get up, okay, but maybe make it prettier, or maybe like make sure that and prettier by
a little bit more effort.
Yeah, put a little more effort.
Lip gloss goes a long way,
and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just think that be authentic to yourself, though.
Absolutely, and that's the message. It's not trying to. If you're like, oh, okay, well, I want a guy. That woman that I told the story, she was going jogging in Beverly Hills. She wasn't doing up her hair and showing up with 10 pounds of makeup and no, she was going jogging, baseball cap. And athletic wear and going jogging, sweating. Think about it. And so to be able to then find someone who's essentially doing the same thing. Right. So that man picks her, obviously doesn't care that that's what she looks like, because they're jogging. If you're going on a hike, it's a similar situation. If you like hiking, so if you enjoy surfing, right, then you got to be out there at 5:45 in the morning when they do the call. And guess what? You're going to be hair wet, and they're going to see you like that. And that's okay, because you're aligning based on what you enjoy doing and what brings you joy.
Yep, that's so true.
Is that all we have today? Listen, you deserve fresh lettuce, we always say, but you truly deserve to live a life that's authentic to you. And there are successful men who can provide the lifestyle that you are seeking, while at the same time you're focusing on your endeavors, figuring out how to do your side hustles or whatever makes you happy. So it's not about being rescued, but about finding that person that truly
balances you out
and aligns.
Amen.
All right. See you next week.
All right. Cheers. And don't forget, you deserve fresh lettuce.
You deserve fresh lettuce.